So I remember what I was going to say before. So
Yeah.
essentially, everyone has what's their life complaint. Well, I got the flu vaccine, but you know, it didn't work. So I'm going to ask you why that's not true. But I want you to think about it in the same way. For the audience anyway, think about it in the same way that these breakthrough cases, the definition is the same, right? If you got a flu vaccine and then you got the flu and you think it doesn't work, it's not that it doesn't work,
So I'm actually going to interrupt you because this is one way in which COVID and flu are very different from each other. The flu vaccine actually has relatively low efficacy, relatively. The coronavirus vaccines are incredibly good. I mean, these vaccines have a higher rate of effectiveness than anything we could have hoped for. The flu vaccine is anywhere from 30 to 60% effective. There's a real likelihood you got your flu vaccine and it might not have worked. And I would love to talk more about that because, again, flu is my bread and butter.
Yeah, please
do. But really quick, so the coronavirus vaccines, when these were being developed, the goal of the scientific community was 50% effectiveness. If a vaccine had greater than 50%, would have been great. That was what we were looking for. The fact that Pfizer and Moderna came out with 94, 96% effectiveness. I mean, I remember reading that. We read the actual published papers in my immunology seminar. And we almost didn't believe it because that is incredible. It's something that we will never get with flu probably. So the coronavirus vaccines really are absolutely incredible in terms of their protection against the original version of SARS-CoV-2, as well as even the Delta variant. They're very highly protective. Even, I believe I saw that the J&J vaccine is 57, 60% effective against Delta variant, which again, is a great number to see.
Yeah, so before we get into what exactly those numbers mean, I do want to go back to the flu point just for a second. So can you talk about why it's so low and help people understand? Because the thing is, the flu vaccine is it's in the zeitgeist. I mean, it's a cultural thing. Every September or whatever, your local pharmacy, your Rite Aids, your CVS, they all put up their little fun signs, come and get your flu shot free, covered by your insurance, yada, yada, yada. And everyone does it. And it's just a thing that we're used to doing. You get a flu shot every year. So can you briefly talk a little about, why those numbers are so low that you mentioned earlier, that 30 to 60%, and also why are we getting a flu shot every year?
Yes. And I'd like to preface all of this by saying, please continue to get your flu shot. Your flu shot is so, so important. And as mentioned before, and something that's so important to keep in mind when it comes to public health issues is that risk mitigation is what matters. We're not looking for elimination. We're not looking for no disease. We're looking for reduction in disease burden. We're looking for reduction in disease severity. Get your flu shot. So part of what makes flu different and why we are seeing fewer COVID breakthrough cases, and we do actually see flu breakthrough cases, is because you guys, people have heard of the spike protein for COVID-2. Yes, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So why don't you just explain what that is a little bit, just so people have a sense of it, and we can go.
Perfect. Okay. I wish I had thought to have a diagram with me. I didn't think that far in advance. But so the important thing is, if you've ever seen kind of the diagram of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, it has a circle and it has little spiky things all around it. It's called the crown. That's where corona comes from. Those spiky things on the outside is the spike protein. And what the spike protein does is that's how the virus attaches to your cells and it gets in. Essentially, it infects you by recognition of that spike protein to your own cellular receptors. So that's what all the vaccines have been designed against, is the spike protein. And you tend to see a lot of the variants come in mutations in that spike protein, which help it better adapt. So maybe the original one was like this, now the Delta variant is like this, and it can more easily get into your cells. It's just an example, it's not specifics. Sure. The difference, so flu also has little things on the outside. It's called glycoproteins for flu, just proteins on the outside. The thing is, flu is what's known as a segmented virus. So SARS-CoV-2 has one genome. its genome is just one long thing. All of the genetic material that makes up the virus is in one strand. Flu has 8 different little pieces of its genome. And what this means is why we have been so worried about flu, we are still worried about flu, is flu can mix and match its genes. So some of its genes can be things that are already adapted to work in people, and some of its genes are totally brand new that our immune system has no idea what to do with. And so flu will swap out the things on the outside of its virus every year. That's the seasonal flu. And some years we're able to predict that really well. And the vaccine that we make with the proteins on the outside matches really well what the seasonal circulating strain is. And some years the prediction is not as good. And some years the circulating strain is different enough from the vaccine that we don't have very high match and you don't have very high protection.